Welcome to a new episode of What If Civilization Started Over. We are on episode 9 and things are boiling here in the green and red area. But today we will not cover the Second Great War. While this was boiling up here in the east, things happened as well. So the next episode will be a longer one. A special one, because it will be episode 10, and we will look how the world will evolve after the Great Second War, or the Second Great War, whatever. So if we want to create a timeline, let's say the gold team just found out about Iceland, and now we are on the same time span as well. Purple, firstly, got some new land here in now called India. This is already India, right? And they found a pretty great place here. Some time passes, and they got half of this enclave. But this was going to be pretty far from home. But because the purple team was not really a dumb civilization, they knew about this gap. This gap of ocean. They knew they could sail from one another. So some brave man, and one woman as well, don't forget about those, they start to sail from this settlement towards the west. Towards the east. Why do I always get those two wrong? They sailed towards the east, and they were trying to find this land that were people waiting. People were waiting for them as well. They sailed, but when a storm hit them, they deviated, of course, and they didn't know where they were going. They were going to the south. And after that happened, after some really great time passes, they eventually realized and turned back towards the east. But now they were far off from their original course. So now they were sailing here, and they got on land here in the middle of India. They got this land, but they didn't know where they were. They expected the people here to be waiting for them, but they weren't. No one was here, and they were scared that another unknown civilization killed all of them. They thought they saw footsteps of people and just marks of living here, but they just made it up. They just made it up to have some hope that they were here, but no one was here. No one was here. Just the men and the women that got here on land. They expanded a little bit, but they wanted to sail back home, but they didn't know how. They just were so baffled that no one was waiting for them. And in the meantime, people here start to expand here. They start to travel via land back towards their main country and start to ask, where are those people that wanted to sail towards our land? And no one knew. No one knew where they were, and they were actually pretty close to each other if you look at it on this scale. But other than that, they were pretty far away. And these men and women start to just had a life on their own. They started to expand their borders and just forget about what they were originally planned on doing. They never thought about just going more to the north to find their own place. And these people also didn't want to go farther towards the east and the south because they were already so far away. And they were scared. They thought maybe the men and the women that got on land somewhere else, that they were killed, and they were scared there was another great civilization here, but no one was here. The purple team was a pretty fun civilization. They believed pretty quickly about stuff that weren't there. For example, now they believed there was a great civilization that killed their men and women, the people that got on land here. They believed that their people were there eventually, but they got killed by a great civilization that wasn't there. People in their home settlements started to wonder, what is there in the west? Is there another great civilization? They were not so-called dumb, but let's say these people were starting to really grew off their original blue team. They started to believe much weirder and fantasy stuff than the blue team. The blue team was reasonable. They had gods. They believed in some stuff that is now so-called a god. But like the purple team were extreme. So let's say now Greenland is discovered in our timeline, and this was already a great civilization, still under the name of purple, but they eventually realized we maybe are still a part of them, but we are not more in contact with them. So they were going to separate from their original origin. The Lavendel team was born, but they were pretty small. They didn't have a major capital city. They just had one major settlement, and after some time also some settlements were starting to pop up here as well, even 3. They didn't know about each other, but also they were pretty close to each other. This Lavendel team expanded their borders pretty greatly after waiting for a while. Their population started to grow. The men and women didn't stop making children. Why did I have to make that so clear? That speaks for itself. And they actually stopped by following the coast. They were done by just using the travel term of following the coast that everyone is using. Like the purple team does it. The green team did it. The cyan team was doing it. The red team did it all the way up here. The blue team did it here. The cyan team did it. The red team did it all the way over here, but eventually they deviated towards orange. Everyone everywhere was doing it like that. And this team was done by using the same method every time. It just went inland. And they were still scared about that unknown civilization that was not there. They claimed a little land around here. They made a settlement there. They went a little bit more towards the north. And they eventually made this a little bit more livable. Their kingdom was starting to grow. They were spanning towards multiple directions. They were curious about this new part of the world. In the meantime, purple started to expand their borders along the coast at some spots. They even expanded here where they border cyan. Both purple and cyan got some few settlements here as well. Blue also had one more. And lavender, I said really Dutch before, sorry about that. And lavender came across a new coast. And they were happy about a new coast, but they were still asking, how is this land in form? How is it looking like? And some more settlements started to pop up everywhere. Their new way of traveling was pretty new for everyone in the world. No one knew about them, so it was still pretty unknown what they did, but they knew what they did. They started to grow rapidly. They started to settle many settlements in their country. For such amount of land, just barely anything, they got pretty many settlements. But they grew and they grew. And after some time, they were looking like this. The purple team finally dared to go further beyond their borders and went east and south. Along the coast, what they always did. Slowly but surely they were getting closer to Lavender. And suddenly, after some weeks of traveling, they got to their border. And they found people. And they were scared. They thought they indeed found a new, great, unknown civilization. So they fled. The Lavender people were questioning this team. Already some time passed by. And these people didn't know about their ancestors that much. They were really on their own. They were focusing on their own and not on their history that much. Only the elderly, great men and women knew about the purple team and, well, the rest. They were starting to wonder, who are those people? Are they from our civilization or not? So some young men started to venture up north. And they eventually turned back because it was just too far away of nothingness. They were going to their leader. But then they realized, to whom should I ask all this? There was no leader. You see, there is no capital city. There was no one leader. All these settlements were leaders of their own settlements and rarely got together. Eventually, one of the settlements, this one, got told by the man about all these men that got to their border. This leader of this settlement doesn't know about their purple ancestors. So what he did, he told about it to the rest and no one knew about it. The Lavender people were so busy with their own that they forgot where they were coming from. Some elderly people still knew, but they forgot eventually and people started to not believe them. They laughed at them and they just forgot and they were getting pretty scared. Who are those people? They started to just prepare for people that just maybe will get into their land and will fight against them. And still no leader was chosen. They all just got together after a while again and mentioned it about these people, the purple team, and they just waited it off. While that happened, the purple king eventually knew about this great unknown, quote-unquote, civilization, without knowing it was their own people. Without knowing they said, you can invade them, but firstly do it peaceful and see how they are doing, what they will do when we get in their land. So after a great traveled back towards this settlement. They prepared, went back, they got to this border, walked slowly across, and the man never returned. So the same thing happened here as well. We get back to the past. Orange came across this settlement. They could return to their original place, but it was unknown. What people do when they find something unknown in this universe, they get scared and they attack. Because the gold team eventually took those people from the greens, and those people never returned because they were killed. When that does happen, people are getting hostile. And of course, purple knew about the two great unknown civilizations from before, the gold and gray. And now they were really scared for these as well. The purple team eventually told it towards the blue king. The blue king towards the cyan king that sort of knew it all better about those two up there. And these three, purple, blue and cyan, got together and said, let's go on, let's venture, which is people from our civilizations, like 10 to 15 men, from the cyan, the blue and the purple team, and go there and see what's going on there. So after many weeks again, they found it and a little fight begun. Purple started to fight towards his unknown civilization, and they quickly marched towards their first settlement they discovered. They took it, but the lavender people were able to get their settlement back and pushed all the men towards the border, well, the non-official border. They got even further, killed them all. They were pretty strong. They were not funded by the gold, brown or gray team just to get that out of the way. They were so scared of the outside world. They were just barbarians. They were animals, almost monsters. They fought really aggressively. So the purple team left, the men left, they got back to their own civilizations, towards the purple, the blue and the cyan, and they were like, leave these guys alone. We don't want a war. We still have to worry about, so let's do not bother about it for now. Eventually, the lavender people got their land back, all the land they took, and they were scared, but waited it off for maybe the next attack. That never really happened. We are now at the timeline that the red declared war on the green. So what I will do now, we will explore this event, and next episode we will explore the event of the Second Great War. But keep it in mind that what will happen from now on, that will happen alongside this Great Second War. So if you want to write a timeline eventually. A great while passes, while the Great War happened. Remember that the lavender people are not taking a part in it or anything like that. They expanded their borders along the coast, but also still inland. They were really like scattered around, and it was pretty efficiently as well. They were getting faster at it. They got fast around the coast. They met up with each other eventually. It took a while, but let's make it happen. And after traveling and traveling all over the place, their method was fast. And eventually they got all the land they desired here in India. Slowly but surely, more settlements started to pop up, and this land was thriving that no one cared about at this point. So now there will be a little spoiler alert. No one is caring about this land, this so-called lavender civilization, because they were all busy, even purple, with the Second Great War. It will be a big one for episode 10. The lavender people eventually crossed this sea with boats they built that resembled the one they got here, but they were actually so dumb now that they forgot all about where they came from. They had still one boat. The children of the children didn't really ask questions about it. They rebuilt it. They made it better. They made new ones. They used it all around their land. And they started to sail just along the coast to trade. And they never asked to themselves, where was that boat even coming from? Why do we have it? Because they knew that they didn't sail before they made new ones. They got to this island and they eventually claimed all of it. After a while, they even got some more settlements here. There started to pop up many settlements here in the new land. They also started to head up north, along the coast a little bit, headed back home. They headed up north, inland as well. And just this place was thriving, all because of a storm that they deviated from their original course and got here by accident. These people were so on their own, were so busy with their own quote-unquote problems, that they forgot about where they came from, forgot about the whole world, forgot about other people, forgot about their own boat, and lived on. So this was a really interesting episode. We looked at just one civilization, together with Purple of course. And while this happened, the Second Great War started. Let's say we are now in the middle of the Second Great War, but on the map it's not visible yet, but the next episode it will be. So a great episode is coming up for the 10th episode, for a special one, and I hope I will see you all then and that you all like it. Because what will happen in this great second war will maybe surprise you. See ya then!